All right, here's a video on how to make a box plot or two box plots to compare on Desmos. This is because from our survey results, you had to make 4 descriptive statistics representations, and one of them is going to be a box plot or comparison box plot. So here's a little refresher on how to do that. Okay. So you have your data. I just put some fake data somewhere, and let's say I got this from a survey somewhere, okay? And I happen to want to make 2. Do I want to make 2? I could, but notice how these are wildly different values. So let's do one box plot. You have your Google spreadsheets. You're going to have to clean it up. You don't have to order the data, so you pick something that you want to do a box plot for. Okay, my suggestion, let's say I want to do time, so I'm going to copy this data. On the bottom, I already have a new sheet, like I have 2 sheets right here, but let's say I want to make a new sheet. So I'm going to have sheet 3. I'm going to Control V to paste it, and I want to clean this up. Okay, because I need to make a box plot, I need strictly numbers. So I look at it, I don't have any empty spaces. I have a suspect value, but we'll just leave that as it is. This one looks like it's valid, but it has extra words in it, so I could go up here and get rid of that. Whoops, 7. And here's my data. So then I'm going to copy my data, copy. I'm going to go to Desmos. Remember, we're making a box plot. You have to pick your favorite letter. So if this was time, so maybe I want capital T equals, and then I'm just going to do Control V, and it puts the brackets that I need. So I have 21 pieces of data. That doesn't make my box plot. I have to literally type in a new cell, BOXPLOT, and then I have to tell it where I'm getting my data from. And I have this. And then I'm like, oh no, it doesn't show up. Well, go back and look at your data. It's super huge, yeah? So instead of like zooming out, I don't know, you can barely see things here, right? Like, I don't see, it might work, but sometimes it squishes everything and it's not as readable. I highly recommend going to the gears up there and playing around with the x-axis. It solidifies your understanding of ranges and what these things mean. So I know for box plots, this y-axis is dummy data. It doesn't make any sense for box plots. It's just a tool we're using to create them. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense for our context in our data. So I know maybe I'm going to go up to 10 here. So I don't need to be negative 9,000 or 8,000. So I don't know, -1. Let's do negative. Oh, it's still a comma there, right? 10, 10. Oof. And I don't need to go up to 7,000. Maybe I'm going to go up to, you can play around with it. I'm going to go up to 22. That's okay, but maybe I want to do 12. You play around with that, yeah? And this seems like it's something I can read in another context, and you could play around other ways. You might want to change the color. You might want to change various other things. So if you click and hold there, I can do black. And it gives me offset and height. Now, if you're doing 2 box plots, remember the offset, whoops, not there. The offset tells you how high you want to take it, right? It offsets it on the y-axis for the vertical height. So that might be something useful. The height is how wide. So notice sometimes that might make sense depending on your scale. So make it something that makes sense. Okay, so you have your box plot. You can play around with this if you forget. Like, it excludes, what is it? This is always backwards to me. So if you unclick it, it hides the outliers. So I feel like that says, I don't know, exclude, they mean something, right? So click around with whether you want to show your outliers or not. And then remember, if you want to put a label somewhere, and you need labels as a refresher on labels. Let's say I wanted it 4,005. So you make some sort of dummy plot point here, 4,005. And then you click on label and you put something like, I don't know what this was, time for Stroop or something like that, yeah? And as a reminder, so you need to check that label. Notice it doesn't show up if it's not checked. If you hover over this, you can change the number if you want, or the color. You can change the font size, etc. You can drag it around. And I don't want the point to show. I only used it as a tool, so if I uncheck that, it moves it around as I want it. And you can play around with the numbers to get it, where am I? Click, for like where you want it. Yeah, okay. So that gives you your box plot, and you have to have labels. You might want to have your stats. People want to know. So that, if you do stats, capital T, that gives you the 5-number summary that I want you to show, and that gives more information about your box plot. Okay. So again, if you have 2 box plots that you want to compare on one graph, you make another list. You do this box plot and the label and the stats again for that list. And if the numbers are of the same scale, make sure you've offset 1 so I can see them both.